قناخيك يا يخستيني التكت يوهان الشيش تلين يا ووچين خستي اشتقا خدتي هسو إيدي جيت بوقا ناوية قياسا دقاقا خين تسودشي وأتشيش شkalneek يا هسا كاوشهد يا Vera Starber قائد Littlefield يا أو خدتو هسو إني جخواني يا تكتيه دخ أوي وأشيكي هافاي وجيبوي تلين جاكوت قوو ساموان هس أوي هايو ختميشتو هسالتو أقاوش شkalneek تلين هاتو أساقو قواقشيك تو سني كش ياتيخ قدزتي كش قوقس تيج ياتيخ شkalneek أقاوي كنخ هاتو أساقو كاختو قواقشيك قهني أوي دانا أوي يا وطلاق ياتا يس قاختو هسقو وقوئيك هسا يوسهي ويسندقاك كينجيستي دو أيا قنخوي أخي أولتون يا هايو غتنجي قهقستي دو داتوي يتختتان قش ناسكيكي يا أخ ديخ يدي دو شgóonي إتكاتي كقوقود قون قنقلنيجد وي تان قاقيس أوا قانخ تيدي شkalneek أيا قيقا كنجيستي قيد خوا شقوا أوا خواخ ديخو تو أدات وهاتو ناقو يسكك وتكت بشkalneek خواخ دقيد قيقاق إنخ كنجيستي هو أوز هلكي وساقوتي قيد خكوا شهيد أن كدوشيدي أتتين يشkalneek هو هل وساقوتي قش 2013 چنكاتاق شو هيخنو كخشهد أتاتوي يجخونيتس يتان قاقيت أوا قش نسكيكي خانا يين كك قشنيكتس يا إيدت قاق توسقو يسكو يا تلك شkalneek تلين قدزتيتس تلين قو أداتوي يهسجيوني شقوا يا سنجد قاديكينا يدوساقو تلكاق إنخ Central Council Clinkit Nahida إتخا Gold Belt Heritage Foundation أخجيت هس أوتي أقاوي وقش أخجيت أجهس أوسوو أقاخت هس خيووس قش هايدي كقيدشي هيقوتي يأوه تليت قاق إنخ هستي توسكو حقستي دادوه أددكي هستو هس أوشتو هستي توسكو خطايا قوخلتيني أقا هستو إن كاخوني قوكسا لنكيد يغتانجي قوا واسا هستو إيدقختو تشي أدادوه خطو خات داد يادو هستو ساقو قاد تلوك تيل chance يادو كهاك يادو التكت هستو دا داو واق خيخو شنيا شخه تلين أتوي كدي ويخات كو أقا أو ستين قلت ناس كدوخو قوقساني قدزتي قوقساني وسكي شkalneek وأكوك just تلاقا قو يخوتلاق قش خوتس خياقو تلقديشة وات يا تلاقا خينخ وانقنينز وخوتس ودش خوتس أو الشايشة وات يدو ساقو يأوه Qonneaya hasqaqwawus. Guxsa qoawe naskadushu shkalneek just like archivu. Khotu gushaqawa qotzeti. Hasqa tleikhasaka, tleikhwatisaka. Tsu hasqaqwawus. Tleikha qonne jigachte good, jigachte kijk jigachte good and like jigachte naak. Jigachte naak en awe tu yejene nakqwa good. Aqa awe awo hu awo te we cook akaqwe du kashuk sai wasagarte sa email address akaye wuti. Hu awe wa atihaya kaushik hitlakat we kukukach. Gwalhu o awsa kukusa we kukusani. Aqawe tu jita chachsawu. Kisa kuke guksa. Uqa chalta katat achjiwu. Gushaqa shkalneek. Achjitach awsawu. We in design you do a sago at kashuk ai. Wasa achtu ke. Achtu yake qonachawe. Akach kutushi. Qonea dati jekhoniqa. Kashadak iko atlatuwu khadusti. Achtu awsagu kho awish kalning klinget khinach aya. Qustien. Ajawe kakhwan ish kashikshani hasqaqawuzi to agesagu. Akakachtunigi. Hasqa aqaqone dati jutuni. Ajawe qudzatiya yidat qushuk wasa duasago at kuhanti. Yeel qaqugans shawat. Yeel qakudutan kehiti. Yeel qaqukan. Yeel taqasa like x'úx'u shawat. x'úx'u shawat. Khutz qayach qutlaqati shawat. Shanyakutach. Yeel qukid qa gushaqa. Tasakshawi. Oh, yeel qa gishtach wugudi yeel. Qa yeel qa qis kach shiyodzenugu shanako. Ya naski klesha dati jagachtune aidat. Shanyakutach de hasakausha hitsi Alaska. Yeel gishtach wugudi yeel. Yudo sago qis kach shuyodzenugu shanako. Hu oe ayach ye awsanuk qatutuk da aya akawa gwalwe needs nuku gwallesha tuwa shgóon aidat qa yeel qa qudkid de wugud gwall yées shkalneeki aya ye awe ye khoji ajawe we shkalneeki kak oyster qudzeti Tlein saya qusti. Tlein q'u hasqaqwawus. Tlein qanak du jit q'achtatan. Adatawe we tlein yuqatang. Ade awe yuqadayaqaye. Howe qaqwawus oyster qawasa qachtisak. Haqa hechasaka. Nu aqawe adati tuchtatan. Ya uskiat has alayech atuyeyet hier. Wait dazu atlasai qasti. Ajawe nuch kutaqa. Ye awe shukwa watuasa we pearl. Nuch kutaqa. Aqawe oyster nuch kutaqa alayech. Asai qudzati. Ye awe seqanen yak kudlaq we yées. Tlesh the cut Johan way, Gwash Anquan on it, ha away Johan, Wooch ʼatudli.átk, ʼaduwóosʼ. Acho Johan, for a Tlesh away Johan. Yijide achagach to Sawu. A dat you a quatan da. Ya the katas a dusa a dat yiji winnie. Ya kahanti we huji shkalneek has to inye jachwane teen. Kachwan ish kashikshani. Wan qalins tlachach tu yenik. Tlashiat has yati. Tlein you retanqa at hajitas awati. Ashtuqachatati. Gonna chish Tlein a redisa ache. Tlesioch sa teen gwash dachadushu yagir anach gwash jakar a Tlein at dachtoasugui in you rachtatani at down. Il chish. You guess a good thing ginach you rietani, it was a qoti. A gat late car ginach. The cut that it was a. Okay. Thoughts, questions, reflections? I see you guys a long time, so I had to talk about a bunch of stuff.
So Yayanaka way oyster stinket hinach.
Nuk kutaka ashyechi.
Ashyechi.
Ashyechi. The thing that makes a shell marble.
Goodness cheese.
Now you can order it from your favorite oyster bar. Then they'll say, Dak nu kutaka ashyechi tuagesibucha. I guess there's lots of them, right? I went to an oyster bar in Vancouver and they had like 20 of them on the wall. I was like, I don't know, just line them up. I'll try them. What else? Any questions, reflections? Let's see.
Okay. Take Sunday cock, shgóon, ʼaduwóosʼ, yéek, skite x'úx'u, ziska, has Kudak sim dog wusitan. Sakyagi sim dog wusitan.
Yachtu. Sim dak ustanch. Hakate likonach dadzachaw at kut the cut yech a kut kus iti the cut yech. Okay. Did you guys catch everything that I said? No. Let's recap. I was telling you, I was excited. Haven't seen you guys in a long time. I was thankful for Chitwu and Nawea for covering classes last week. I know either in this class or the Tuesday class, some folks wanted them recorded, but we couldn't get that. It's complicated. Let's see, I was in an opera. It was very fun. Written by Vera Starber and Ed Littlefield. Y'all gonna get like a closed door secret sneak preview. Since I was gone, I gotta share it. And so I was just running it past the powers that be. So it was wild. And so I'm not a good opera singer. I found that out. But maybe I'll figure it out. It was a lot of fun. It was I think it's gonna be really incredible. Like those are some really amazing people as far as a writer and a musician and just both and the way it's all coming together. It's a big story. It's a big story. And then there's a book that's coming out tomorrow. Well, there's like a launch party on the 27th. So if you are in Akquanani, there's a launch party on October 27th with these books that we've really pushed to have them all in Tlingit. So there's no English in them. There's going to be an animated read-along that also has no English. There's going to be an option for English subtitles, but I'm really trying to push back on a lot of things. I'm not trying to keep anything from anybody, but I just want something to exist like that's so cool, and that's just in Tlingit. So, but either way, it's going to be awesome. And then I made, so once that comes out, I'll share with you, well, I'll share with you folks a little bit before it comes out. I made a glossary for it, which I've done before, and it's probably the most comprehensive glossary I've done. And so basically I would just look up every single word and then go in the dictionary and just pull the whole entry, except for maybe all the sample sentences and the verbs. But and then what I tried to do is make sure that the main verb modes are there for every verb that's in the book. So it would have command, prohibitive, imperfective if there is one, or progressive imperfective, perfective plus, perfective minus, future plus, future minus. And then whatever the verb, the one thing I do got to go in and make sure that, because some of them have imperfective, repetitives or habituals, and I got to put those in there if they're in there. So that's exciting, and that's coming out. So there's a lot of projects that are coming forward. Based on that, I've got something else. Yeah, I gave you guys the hit Ishan Gaudon. I have to follow it up. How could I possibly follow that? Okay. Well, let's see. What else? And then I was talking about some other stuff. I can't remember. But I've got an idea for you guys. So before this book comes out, since this book is coming out so soon, what I did is I was really curious about word frequency. So what I did is I took every word that's in this story and then I put them into, here's the tricks. I copied everything into Microsoft Word, which I don't use it very much. But in Microsoft Word, you could convert every space into a paragraph, and now you've got the whole story, every single word as its own paragraph. Then you could copy that to a table. Then you could sort that table alphabetically, and then just go in and check out your underlines. And then you can count the words, how often they appear. And so, just so that you folks know, I think the most frequent words are ah and away. Well, away is always the winner, I think.
And this was based off of where the words you extracted this from?
There's a mysterious story.
Oh, a story. Okay. Okay.
And so here's the project before I tell. I don't want to spoil everything. I'll give you the word counts and everything else. I'll show you the glossary probably on Wednesday. But here's what I want you to do, because I haven't given you an assignment in at least a week. It's been at least a week since I've given you anything to do. So in the, I hope it works, in the chat is the link to a Google document. It's a Google sheet. That sheet, by my count, has 387 words. So here's the task. You can only use every word once, and I would like you to try and put the story together. Oh, what a crazy task that's going to be. You might only end up like putting together sentences, but if you do it this way, sometimes words get separated from their verbs. Oh no. So if you go, you should be able to copy it and paste it. It's gonna be a labor of love. And just and don't worry, because we'll have the story to check it against. But I thought this would just be a good it's like a furniture. It's like furniture from IKEA. I know like furniture places in Juneau are going out of business, so we got to kind of get used to maybe buying things from IKEA where it comes But in this case, maybe it's more like something you buy from somewhere. It's like there's no directions, but there's 400 pieces, and I hope you have a couch by Wednesday. So
you want us to only use one word or one of each word and then write like a paraphrase of the story itself.
yeah, see if you can make a story out of it. And if you end up not using all the words, that's fine. But if you use, well, see if, well, there is a story, but if you don't know what the story is, like maybe it'll reveal itself, maybe it won't. There's a name in there. Don't go looking it up based on the other stuff. Like it's out there, right? So don't cheat. Um, but yeah, so it's a sheet right now. So you should be able to, well, let me just see if it works. If I tried it, if I just tried this in a random sort of thing, like let me go to, what do I so many things open? I'm gonna learn. Okay. So if I just go to here, and this is a document called Mysterious Story Words, I should be able to copy this. I should be able to select them all, copy, and then, I don't know, put them into a Google document maybe. Oh, it wants me to sign. Okay, hold on. Hold on. But if I do, let me just try it in Word. I'll just try it in Word and see. See what happens if I try this in just a Word document. So if I take this and I moved it into a blank Word document, oops, that's not it. Oops. What happened? Going through too many clicks. Okay, hold on. Did I shut it all down? Oh, there it is. Okay. So when I copied it and when I pasted it right into a Word document, it came in as a whole bunch of tables. So it's going to be a little tricky, but I could sort of say on yadich, and I could cut that and maybe move it into a new document. Maybe you have this one open and you start cutting words and pasting them in. And maybe just see, and so I'm not trying to get you to reconstruct the entire book, but see how many sentences you can make and see if the story begins to reveal itself. What a messy idea that was.
Oh my gosh.
But it's only 400 words. De is the most common word in this story. Who would have known? And so I'll show you also like the type of analysis that I'm doing. Both, I'll show you the story, and I'll show you the grammar. Well, I'll show you the glossary, and then I'll show you like this comprehensive word analysis that I was trying. And then we'll talk about like, what does this do in terms of your learning and how can you, because the goal of all of this is to have people be able to tell their own stories. And if you're not sure what a word means, definitely let me know. There's a few tricky ones in there. It's true. Well, this was, and I also mentioned that this when I was speaking Tlingit, this is the last thing I worked on with George and Marge. So this was our final project. So it does make me sad sometimes when I work on it. But we got about halfway through it. Kakwan Ish, George Davis passed away. I was incredibly sad. I worked with Marge a few times, but not as much as I should have. And then I ended up going to Sitka like a couple years later, a year or two later, and I worked with some elders there to finish it. So Cleotu Ish, Sherman Davis, Dacia, Ethel Makinen, and Wooch, Tla, and Johnson. And so we finished it there in Sitka. And then probably have gone through it with you folks in class, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to tell you too much or else I'll end up giving away the whole thing. Next thing you know, I'm just telling you the whole story.
Just tell us a little.
So what you're going to do is, so you're going to take one word, and so you can only use one word once. And maybe if you're feeling intimidated, just write as many sentences as you can until you run out. And don't worry about it. If you like to solve puzzles, see if you can start to figure out what the story is. And if you think you can figure out the story, see if you can tell it with these. It's like a word salad, but then it's also like a Scrabble game. Like you can only use everything once, right? So it's like, oh, that's off the board. How fun is this? How exciting. Aren't you glad that I am back? Aren't you glad to see me? Now you've got something to do with all your spare time and energy.
This is for Wednesday.
But, let's just see what you got. See what you got, and then maybe we'll see how we're doing. We might just do some grammar stuff on Wednesday. We might just talk. Just have fun. You do have a midterm for our class, which we'll probably do in November, just because who's in any kind of hurry? And so what your midterm is going to be is a recording that I'm going to break into 4 pieces because I think there's 4 different narratives on it. And you're going to listen to, we're going to listen to it in its entirety and just kind of talk about it. And then you're going to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you're going to write down the tlingit, and you're going to translate it as much as you can. And they're pretty short. They're like 5. They're only 5 minutes, which is, you know, tlingit. If you're really good, you could do, I don't know how long, like, I think I can sometimes do 3 minutes in an hour, but it depends. So, but yeah, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing. So, any questions? Anybody? You angry? I'm just kidding.
Is it available yet, or the recording, or we'll get it later?
I'll put it on our website tonight in its entirety. I still got to listen to it and find. I found 2. I marked where 2 of the breaks are. I got to mark the 3rd break. And just so we're clear, if everybody just tries the thing, everybody gets A's. So no amount of success depends on this. If you just don't do anything, like kadeich, shame will be upon you, but just try. Like, so nothing is. I'm not gonna take a look and be like, oh, you made it 3 minutes out of 4. That's 75%, I guess. Like, I don't do that kind of stuff. I don't believe in grading at all. But that's another conversation for another time. Is it clear? I'll put the word list, it's on a Google Doc, it's just a list of words, pretty much alphabetical. You're going to grab one at a time and just see how many sentences you can make. Let's just try that. And then if you think you start to get the story, maybe try to put the story together. It's like a tlingit jigsaw puzzle. How exciting. How exciting. Okay.
I don't know why, but this makes me think of the monkeys and typewriters. Just putting stuff together and eventually coming up with Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, we're at an opera.
It could happen.
I was at an opera workshop with a whole bunch of musicians, and they just kept using all these terms. And I just look at, I won't say who, but I was like, I feel like that meme of that dog that's floating in space that says, I don't know what I'm doing. And so sometimes you just got to go for it. And it's fun because all the pieces are there. It's like the verbs come pre-assembled. So if it's ute, then there's probably a tlein out there somewhere that belongs to it. Just some things like that. Little things here and there. What I should have done is just brought in like 387 pieces of paper for everybody. It's like, here's your paper, put it together. On a giant poster. I'm just kidding. We'll keep it fun. It'll be fun. Do you folks have any language questions? Anything you've been thinking about?
Yes. In Hashaka, page 156. Kak echti. Tle asiku we sak away de geest. Tlet chosaka, de geest
What page
is
is
the verb. I don't know what the verb is for de geest. The literal translation is he knew that hooligans were being trapped. And I looked under trap, but I couldn't find any reference to de geest.
What page is that on?
156.
And was this ʼatudli.átk or ʼashaka?
Hashaka.
Okay, and what's the line number?
77 or so.
Oh, hest. Okay. And then we have hooligans were being trapped. Okay. So let's go take a look. Tle ausaku away we sak hest. And we'll go down here. Oh, then we have a library question after this. Okay, so let's switch to Untitled Document 23. I guess I gotta close some things. Make this bigger. Okay, so here we have Tle ausaku we sak away hest. He knew that hooligans were being trapped. So if I had a verb like this, I think I would start with the verb dictionary, and let's go see what we could find. So when we go into the verb dictionary, like we can see that starts with an X, and let's just go see if there's anything even close to that in here. So we've got frown, furrow, poke, sweep, tangle, exert. It's fishing with the rake, but that's heek. So that's possible. Go down, trouble, pump. I think it's gonna be any of these. I might go down to the A's. Well, here's the E's. So we were seeing x'est was how it was spelled. Heen, hate, hake. We got hoots, hoosh, hook, ha, hat. Scrape, shave, cut. So we don't see anything. I don't know if I'm seeing anything in here, which would lead me to find like x'est.
I think it's further up the page there.
Dulxasa. Dulxest. Okay. Well, we can go look up trap and say, well, it's translating as trap. Let's go see if there's anything like that. So then we've got tzaqat and shot. So then it shows us two options for here, and we know this is to trap something in like a, especially works well for going out and trapping skin, animals for their hides. And then you've got a fish trap, so not there. For me, I might sort of go next to Lear's stem list document. And again, just go to the X's and see if I could find anything. Is that underlined? So here are the X's, and here's a'dlxes, which would match to catch a bird with inverted container by pulling away prop with string. So there's a bird trap. So if we're able to find that, and that is like a pretty significant clue, right? So we looked up the X and then we looked up the E, right? And so now from here, we might go into the verb notes, which hopefully maybe we'll find. Good verb sleuthing here. Close that. So here's X, XE, and we see catch with container, and we see yées, trapping it with a small trap. So this would be the verb, but then what we have, and then we see jineiyí, for a small trap made with an inverted container. So there's something about this kind of trap. We see ʼatudli.átk, we see the perfective here. This does show us something, yées, and there is a pretty significant difference here. So if we go back to what we were examining, we do see that there's this T ending. And so what the T ending is probably telling us is that this is a repetitive verb, that people were they are regularly trapping their sock. So as opposed to dip knitting, they have some sort of small container trap that captures it. So this might also work pretty well. Anybody ever hear anybody talk about like going crabbing or shrimping, right? Because like you put a small trap in there, but because I think that kata has to do with like some sort of trigger mechanism or something that closes the trap as opposed to something that they go into and then they're stuck. So that's a good question. Okay. So now y'all can make
Can I ask another question about this same area here? Or do you have subject material you want to go to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. At the top of the same paragraph, play wooch duk ye du tlach klia ayit away asatan. I'm more interested in the second line there. Tlach klia ayit away asatan. I'm trying to figure out here the sentence segments and what they mean. And I thought tlach klia meant the one that's really far away, the trap. And I thought yeet away meant inside that one, but is not one, that would be tlein, right? So I'm confused how you bunch these segments in order to get your meaning.
Yeah, so it's here we got inside the farthest one. And so these are really good questions, okay? So looking at this, so yeah, tlein means farther down. That's what it really means. It's just farther down. When you say tlein, that means the one or the ones that are farther down. right? So for example, we're handing stuff out and you're asking me, wait, that one? Wait, again? No, the one further down, right? And then I might point at them. So tliya'a on its own means one that's further down. And it could be plural. Like whenever we have it could be ones as well. But in this case, it is a singular. But when you say tlach tliya, that means way farther down, right? So, for example, if we're distributing gifts at a ku'ik, it's ku'ik season, and I'm helping to coordinate the gift giving, but I'm sitting here like, my job is to like see which things are going to be leaving the distribution area. And I might turn to a young person who keeps just going to the same group of people because maybe they're shy and they don't want to go, or they don't want to go to the back of the room for whatever reason. I might say, those ones that are way down there, go to them. So would mean the one that's way farther down. And then you do have yi. So yi is inside a building, inside a home, or inside a trap. Sometimes it's inside of a tree, but this would be yeet. So that's something that they go inside of it. And yi is a really good one for folks to know because if you're in the house and you want someone to come inside, what do you tell them in Tlingit?
Ishka.
Neishka. But if you're standing outside and you're telling them to go inside, that's not what you say. What would you say then?
Yi
Yes, but you
Yigu.
just put hit in front of it. Hit yigu or neish yigu. So hit yigu would mean go in that house, go in the building, right? And so it's a directional thing. And so you're not in the trap, so you would say tlach tliya yid, inside of the one way farther down. And then that leaves us with inside lay a little hooligan. So then we get this one, satan. And so this means for something that is usually kind of stick-like to be laying there. So with all of these handling verbs, they do get wild because there's categories, right? Living thing, dead thing, empty thing, full thing, abstract, compact thing, complicated thing, stick-like, complicated stick-like, long stick-like, right? There's a whole bunch of those categories to learn. Coiled rope, tangled rope, rope picking it up by the end, right? So if you're going to say, bring that extension cord over here and you're going to grab the end that you plug things into, there's a certain one for that. So one is the categories. Two is they are all going to be motion verbs now. So when you say carry it, bring it here, bring it there, take it over there, hand it to me, those are all going to be motion verbs. So then you got to know the type of motion to determine whether it's going to be zero, na, ka, or ka. It's usually going to be zero or na, most often. But then the kicker that we haven't even touched upon, is all of those handling verbs have a related positional verbs, a positional verb. So you could say satan, the stick is sitting there. And there's ones for all of them. For all of them, they would all have positional versions, which we haven't done a whole lot with those. So I think we're going to have to do that before the snow falls too deep. We're going to have to get into some of those. But that's why there's a place called tlach satanjin. It's the hand that's really resting, the arm that's really resting. That's the name of a mountain around here. Those are good questions. Okay.
So the verb is sate.
It's satan. So you could say achchit satan waisak. Hand me that herring. You could also say achchit satan. Any like stick-like object in it, satan would work.
And satan is what now? A noun?
It's a positional verb to say it's laying there. But like, is it lying or laying? I can never get it right in English. But it's the type of thing. So, where am I going to find these? I think the verb dictionary will tell me whether it's lay or lie. So if you go back into the verb dictionary, it's probably under lie. So here, so we know the motion verb version of this would be ʼachit te we te. So te is what it would be, the command form. ʼachit awati we te. We might know how to use that. Te at teen. It's a different, it just changes a little bit. That's the positional form of that. There's a rock lying there. What do they say? They say lying. Okay, I'm going to switch to lying. Okay. And so we have seti. So seti would work well for hand me something that's complicated. You got to think about how to carry it. Hand me my laptop. Hand me a watch. Hand me a belt. Hand me that chair. And the reason, there's logic behind the categories. It's just signaling. You got to think about how you carry it. It's a complex object. When you're carrying a guitar, you carry it different than you'd carry a rock, right? So then we would know this one's ʼachit sati, ʼachit ausati, same thing. But then we say tsa iji wait satin. So now there are seal rocks over there, right? So this is, whatever reason, it's a complex object. That would work well for like a violin. Wait satin, wikircha. The violin is sitting over there. Same thing, ʼachit kate wikwat. Hand me the egg. ʼachita kawati wikwat. Kwat, kut, kat, katin. So what's interesting with these position verbs is the open endings close. That's pretty common, right? And this is just something that we see. We see qayqi. Well, I don't know. Let's just stick with what's here. So here now we've got a small stick-like object or string-like object. So here's, oh, they're using pencils. Yeah, it's fine. I would think of kasatan for a pencil, but whatever. So kuhida nadauk kat kasatin. But this one would also be ʼachit kasate, ʼachita kausati. Here's this one for like the hollow object. So a box perhaps. ʼachit tan wequk. Hand me the box. ʼachit awatan wequk. They gave me this. They gave me the empty box. But then you've got tan. So shash, shtuch, kat, tan. The spoon is lying on the stovetop. Satan, and this is where you get satan. Now it's long. It's long in this one. I don't know why. But that's just how he says it. But I would expect it usually to be, and these are only in their imperfective as well. They're position verbs, so they're usually only in their imperfective. So you've got zait, hit, tate, satan. There's a ladder lying behind the house. Acha, hit, tayit, katan. There's a paddle under the house. Chunate, yat, kasatan. There's an arrow laying there. Katzit, nadauk, kat, kashaat. There are screws lying on the table. Ikodasi, yut, ach. Your shirt is lying over there. Yiat kat shistan. So this one is to lay down, for a single thing to lay down. And so you've got shistan. They're lying down on the bed. They have laid themselves down. Yende shkukasta. I'm going to lie down. So this one you see a future as well. So this one's not really a position verb. This one's a motion verb. Because I know you could say yenshista, which is lay yourself down, because we had to work on dog commands, and so yenshista, lay down, dog. And then here's de has shklat. They are already lying down. Why is the letter I there? Anybody know?
Classifier?
It's right next to the classifier. We might have gone over this the other day. We're going over like a bunch of rules. I gave it 50
Is
rules.
it a peg vowel?
It sure is. If you have a consonant in the prefix, you must have a vowel. You cannot only have a consonant. And so that's why this one pops up, because you can't say sh-at. It just doesn't work. Tlingit is just like, no. And so Tlingit does tend to like, there's usually more meaning in consonants when you get into verb prefixes, but then the vowels got to be there to separate them. They can't just run into each other. They can as like suffixes on a noun. You could say go for it, little swan. But for here, like, and so that's why you'd say de, des, shishat.
For this same page, a question about the endings. Here we have positional verbs, and we're talking about located at, but it's not a pinched X ending, it's a t ending. Now, where was I going off track there, expecting the pinched X rather than all of these very consistent t endings?
Yeah, they like to have the T, right? Which is just saying it's at their, and there is something to that, right? And so if you're gonna have, you're usually gonna have yéyati, just to like it's there, it's residing there. So it has to do more with like residing or resting, and then this one is more like arriving at, contacting, and in this case, lying at. So if it's gonna be lying there, if you look at all these examples, the T is certainly preferred.
Yeah, this may be pushing it too far, and goodness, sheesh, that is very clear and helpful, but might it have something to do with how long the object is likely to stay there? Because if there's a rock lying there, the next big tide could knock it over and take it somewhere else.
Yeah, that could be. There could be a bit of permanence to this one. That's certainly possible. Whereas it's like it's there. But then if you say teen, it's like it's lying there. And so yeah, that's a deep question. Yeah, just take a look, and it could, I think a lot of it just seems like positional verbs like to have the T, right? Although I hear people, no, you'd say hun. They're standing beside me, right? And so, so I think they like to have the letter T, and so maybe there's something, I don't know, someone will have to analyze that. That's a really good question. Deep dive. Boy, we dive right back in. Qatlanihin. There was another question about, so I started thinking about this. I drive my kids around, not speak English to them, and I'm saying, and they go, oh, okay, bookstore? I was like, like, oh, library? I was like, like, post office? And so, like, it was never clear because they all had the same name. So then I was on a mission, and so this is what we kind of decided. So there was a group of us that were working on this. I was talking to jineiyí, Marsha Hodge, Wehad, Jeff Lear, and some others about like, well, how could we differentiate between that? So what we settled on is ʼatudli.átk would be the bookstore. And now just because we said that this is what it should be doesn't mean anybody else is wrong. It's just like, can we just differentiate? And this is going to happen a lot. If we start using a language a lot, then we realize we're going to have to start differentiating between these things, right? And so now there's a coffee shop and there's a tea shop, right? And so the coffee house is different than the tea house. So in this case, ʼatudli.átk would mean literally the building around the books or the paper. Then for the library, which says ʼatudwóosʼ on the front, which would be a book that you read. So ʼatudwóosʼ is the name of the book itself. And so I probably shouldn't have put that. Maybe future editions, I'll take that word off of there. But we're also sort of saying cook is also a newspaper, a book, a piece of paper, a membrane, right? And so the other thing too was like if you have one word for a bunch of different things, the more you use the language, and especially if we're using it over the phone or teaching, just teaching it to people, then sometimes we want to differentiate that stuff. So de tu cook is a book that you would read. Then we settled on ʼatudli.átk for the place where people borrow books for the library. So here you've got ʼatudli.átk with this. Basically, verb is how you make names for a lot of different places. And so if there's something that happens at that place, you use a fourth person verb, and then you put and on either side of it. And this works for like naming places after ravens. So you might say, yées, the place where Raven walked across, right? And so you could name it for that. As we go down, then jineiyí is the name we got from Joe Hodge for the post office. And so this is paper that is sent by, somebody is sending it, right? Jineiyí. Somebody is sending that. Jineiyí. So it's post office. I hope they're not mad at me for using the logo. I don't think I realized I did that. Don't come at me, post office. So yeah, that's how we were differentiating between those. And then I think further in here you have de tu cook for a book, neek kuku for a newspaper. I don't know if we didn't get into like catalogs and magazines, but we probably could someday. Geesh.
So, at one point, I think one of these said, it might have been the one where it was the library, it said, de tu cook dakahidi.
Yeah, that was the previous version.
And then so, that one, that phrase isn't currently, I guess, being used as a particular place anymore with the do to. Wasn't there one like, well, let's see, I don't remember. But I think it must have been the library, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we were using it for library. And then someone said that the book borrowing would be a better thing. And so I was like, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so to cook dakahidi is maybe one that could not be used anymore necessarily as that, I guess, is what I mean, is like kind of getting retired.
Yeah, I think we'll probably retire.
Retired, put it up in the rafters and
Put it in secret stash.
yeah, not use it anymore.
The names that used to be ʼaduwóosʼ, the box of names that don't exist anymore. Okay. Anything else? It's fun to catch up. Okay. So we did, let's see, let me find this thing. So I had, let's see, here it is. So I was heading up, where was I going? I think I was coming back. Hubbard, you do a sock, we yak. Ish gecheti yak Tlein. Kone adat you tuch the ton, adat way. So adat you tuch the ton. Verb prefixes. So I was on the ferry. Think about verb prefixes. I should just ride the ferry all over the place because then I'll just come up with new slideshows. But my goal here was to try and continue to talk about how the prefixes get put together. I'm trying all these different illustrations, these different tables, these different exercises, just so we can keep internalizing them. What are they? What do they do? How do they get put together? So the thing to keep in mind is these are really the things that you need to sort of, oh, why that says prefix over there? Okay, hold on. Okay, I gotta fix that. I gotta get rid of this. So these are the main things that you need to focus on, is the preverb. So sometimes k, sometimes yé, sometimes klesh, klesh ade, different things that are going to pop up before the verb, but you cannot remove them without changing the meaning. And sometimes they just have to be there for certain types. Then you have these 4 conjugation spots, and you're going to turn things on in certain orders to produce verb modes, right? And so the y on its own means we're talking about a perfective verb. Ga u qa means we're talking about a future verb. So there are certain things on each of these things. So this one is ga, G-A. This one is u, the letter U is the irialis. This one is 0, na, or qa as the conjugation prefixes. And this one is qa, mode, and the y, perfective. Okay? So there are times where you're going to get certain combinations. And you can have qa and qa. You could have na and qa. You could have ga and qa. So the idea here is just to say, like, there's only so many of these things. There's only so many combinations. And if we can figure this out, then we can put verbs together. Once we see a theme, we say I could use that verb in pretty much any way I want to. The thing I want to add to this is stem variation. And then you've got like a table that builds it. And I'm talking with some tech people about what kind of app we can make that does this for us. So we can say, I want this verb, and just enter the information that spits out the prefix for you. And you put the label on something, right? So here's how I want us to start thinking about this. The prefix for these ones, oops, let me check the chat, hold on. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, so there was a question about the homework. So what I'm going to do is tonight I will put the list of words up in the instructions on tlingitlanguage.com under Learning Tlingit and Advanced Tlingit. Okay, so whether it's 0, na, ga, or qa conjugation, these ones are going to be the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's not going to affect the prefix. For imperfective, negative imperfective, progressive, or negative progressives as well. Perfective, negative perfective, future, negative future. Like, it doesn't matter. For the prefix anyways. For these ones, the preverb is going to, so this is talking about the prefix. This one's talking about the preverb. So the preverb's right here. So if you get into progressive, futures, or repetitives, you need to know what the conjugation type is. So for progressive, 0 and na are always going to be ya. Ya nagut, ya anasquain, ya naguin, wekit, right? But if it's ga, it's going to be k. K nakain, it's getting better. K nalsin, it's getting stronger. If it's qa, it's going to be ye. Ye andagan, the sun is starting to shine. I was just doing another qa one just a while ago. Anyways, and then same with the future. 0 and na won't have anything in the preverb, but ga will always have k. It's going to get better. Ke guchlitzim, it's going to get strong. Qa will always have ye. Ye eqwasatin, I will see you. Ye eqwashashat, I will capture you. And then the repetitives, we'll look at those, right? So sometimes you're going to have a preverb like you. Whenever you have like you, chaya, tunk, those ones that have you and the k at the end, that's because they're na conjugation. Then these ones, the command, the habitual, the hortative, the potential, and the conditional, the conjugation prefix will be activated. So if it's na, you're going to see na in there. If it's ga, you're going to see ga. If it's qa, you're going to see ka. So that's the first thing to think about is, does the conjugation type affect the way we put the verb together? For these ones, not the prefix, so I would say prefix same regardless of conjugation type. The second thing is, does there need to be a preverb there? Which maybe I'll move these since they kind of appear in that order. I'll fix my formatting later. Okay. Any questions about that? Any thoughts?
Really muddy, Kone.
A little bit. But it just keeps raining. So there's mud all over the place. We got a long-haired German Shepherd. It's just, we're burning through towels, just trying to keep that dog clean. So, okay. So the way, I'll put this whole thing up. And let me tell you what this thing is designed to do. So what this thing is designed to do is I think every major verb prefix conjugated for person, and it's 164 pages long, which is a lot, but this is what you're looking at. So for now, if you say, okay, well, what's the imperfective for this? So if you take, for example, cha, to eat it, cha, to cha, or they're right here, cha, to cha, icha, yicha. Well, this one would be acha, and then it would be ducha, right? So they're all there. So this is saying you have an imperfective zero classifier group. This is what it has to be. And this doesn't deal with any thematic prefixes. We can deal with that at another point. But for now, like, here's a cheat sheet for looking up every single prefix that you could possibly put together without a thematic on there. For example, and it basically goes, so it takes imperfective, right? And it says, here's the zero classifier. What if it's plus D? There you go. Chada, tuda, yida, yida, da, ada, du. Okay. Oh, what about an S classifier? Right there. D plus S there. L, D plus L, SH, D plus SH. That way if you look up the verb, you say, okay, well, let me go look up the prefix. So then the prefix, they're all there. And what it shows you is what things are going to be there and in what order. So for imperfectives, you only have the subject and the classifier. That's all you're going to have. And then there's a difference between third person and third person with a third person object, right? So those are perfectives. And so the other thing is there's only two types of perfectives. Well, I guess three. Shoot. Okay, let me rethink this. So this should say imperfective act and position. So all of these ones that say imperfective act, oh, you know, I can fix this. Hold on. It's just fresh off the press. So everything that says imperfective act is going to also say, there, I think I just fixed it. So now it says imperfective act and position. So there are three types of imperfectives. There are act verbs and position verbs, which are always minus I. Then there's state verbs, which are always plus I. So what does that mean? Like, what's the practical use of that? So here, you would have an imperfective state verb, which usually has an object. But if there was one with a subject, this is what it would look like. Cha, tuwa, iya, yi, ya, aya, duwa. I think where it starts to get really useful is when you get down into the perfectives. So as you look at a perfective, this is what you've got. Perfective marker, subject, classifier. That gets you hua, watua, iya or yi, uwa or wu, awa, and wadua. Then we go down, we start just changing the classifier to see, well, how does that change? But if you just continue to study this thing and continue to look them up, you'll find, like, here's all the D. So you have huade, watude, yide, yide, wude, aude, wudua. So if we go down to the S classifier, what you're going to see is all of these letter D's changing to S. And then that will be the only change, except for the fourth person. So if I jump down to the S, x'úx'u, ʼatudli, yées, wooch, x'úx'u. So if we go back and forth, we're changing a single letter. X'úx'u, x'úx'u, ʼatudli, átk, right? So the idea here is to continue looking at these patterns, having this, and it goes, you go way down towards the bottom, and we start getting into, here's negative futures, right? Tlein, 0K or yay, ga, and qa. What does that get you? Kaqasa or kaqwasa. Gachtusa, gaqisa or kaqisa. Gachisa, guchsa, aguchsa, gachtus. And so the idea here is to give you every combination, so you can look at it. If you're just wondering how to use that verb, you can look it up on here. Look up the prefix anyways. And then we'll talk of like these are the parts that are there. So you could see them. They will always be in a certain order. Ga is always in this category. Is always in this category. Qa is always in this category. And this includes going way down to hortatives. If you know, like, so if you know that it's, so qacha, let me eat it. Qatucha, let's eat. Qicha, let yourself eat, I don't know, let you eat it. Qaycha, you all eat it. Qacha, in this case, aqacha, let them eat it. Qatucha, let the people eat it, right? And so you're not always going to have the most logical uses for some of these, but they're there. And you could find, and so you'll find all kinds of them. So if we go down, so this, when we go into here, these are 0 hortatives, all by classifier, and then na. So what is that? ʼatudli.átk. It's right there. ʼatudli.átk. Let's go. ʼatudli.átk. Let's go home. And so I'll put this whole slideshow up there. You can look at the thing. You got 2 puzzles. One as a puzzle that's already solved for you, but something just think about. How does this stuff work? How do I put it into my brain so I could just say, you could say, we came here to go to sleep. Hot ʼatudli.átk. Nacht'ucheg'ut. We came here to sleep. Right? Because it's a na conjugation verb. And nachtu is built right there. Like these are, again, pre-assembled for the most part. I'm like a Lingi furniture salesman. Oh, it's all pre-assembled. You just got to put these 350 pieces together without instructions. It's like it's so fun. Never run out of stuff to think about. Okay, anything before we go?
Good enough. Sheesh.
If I take a look, oh, go ahead.
I hope you say this tzliye yanaka a little sooner while we still have some brain cells.
Oh yeah, we'll start with some of that.
Okay,
You'll be okay, and I'll put it all up there so you could just take. I just wanted to start introducing the idea as we go through it. It's just yet another tool to start putting these things together and to just keep using them. And the idea is, if we use these things enough, we wear them out and then we don't need them anymore. Okay, okay.
Cheese.
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 Anna, Ziakensa.
Cheese. Ziagen.